Hello, hello, Dr. Brett Spradlin here. We are at Divine Design Natural Health in Cleveland, Tennessee. Lovely, warm, tropical Cleveland, Tennessee. And do we have a crowd in the house?
Yes, we do.
We sure do. Now, tonight we will have a Wheel of Wellness spin-off at the end of this thing, so stay tuned. People are going to win some cool stuff. And another little announcement, some housekeeping before we get kicked into things here. After all the censorship and everything of YouTube and Vimeo and us getting deplatformed from multiple video platforms, we are now happy to announce that all of our 2021 and all of our 2022 events, there are dozens of them, are all on our website now and linked directly on the website to BitChute, Rumble, our Facebook, secondary Facebook page that we have just in case Facebook shuts us down. So you can go to, Jonathan, I don't know if it's a pain in the butt to pull that up on the website, Divine Design Natural Health, and just go to the Patients tab and then the Video tab while I'm running through the rest of this. And look at the graphic here. This is me. That's Nadia. Okay, and then over that's Amanda. You can't really tell. But then there's Lauren, and then there's Angie. Angie, right here. That was your first picture with us. So that was a lot of work taking that shot there. I just want you to know. Oh, and just go to patient information, go to videos, and to get past having to send links to everybody for all of the different videos, we've got your number. That's the one we did 2 weeks ago. So there's the Facebook link. Heart issues, we heart you, Rumble and Facebook. What's in those supplements? Rumble and Facebook. Man with a Plan, that was a mystery speaker panel discussion, a couple patients who are men, that's kind of our men's class. You're Full of It, that's the water class. Hands in the Air, that's the chemtrails class. 5G class, cancer class, medical professional. So you can just go here. If you like Rumble, great, click there. If you like Facebook, great, click there. Diseases that don't exist. Shotpocalypse, that's all about the vaccine rollout, lethal injection clot shot that the government forced on you. Darkness to Light, Exposing the Lies, Part 10. If you want to know more about vaccines, check that one out. Pregnancy and Birthing, Land of the Free, Home of the Crazed. That's all your mental health, the fake chemical imbalance thing that you've been told all your lives is real, is fake. Stress, the Death Cascade. That right there is where I go through every single disease you've ever heard of in 10 minutes and tell you that they're all the same disease. Why your kids are sicker than you. Oh, women. So there's the women's class. There's the kids' class. What do I eat? Patients, you want to know what do I eat? We answered all those questions right there. Royal Oilers, life hacks to save greenbacks. Which doctors do what? You want to know what a medical doctor does? You want to know what a chiropractor, what a naturopath, what a homeopath, what a licensed acupuncturist does? Boom, right there. Which doctors do what? Plant Medicine 103, Emotions Not Lotions. Ladies, that's the class for you. The Truth About Vegetarianism. We did a class on that with 2 vegetarians, one that was raised in vegetarianism and one that adopted vegetarianism at a local Christian university. Artificial versus Natural Part 2, Energy Medicine. That's dealing with what we do here, energy medicine. You want to know what we do here? Watch that. Greatest healing profession the world has ever known. That's all about chiropractic. Plant Medicine, Believe the Thieves, Keeping Up with the Joneses. That was a whole family, mom, dad, 2 daughters, and everything they've gone through since they became patients here. Plant Medicine 101, Plant Power for the Next Plague. We did that as the anniversary edition of the COVID scamdemic from the day that it dropped, March 13th, 2020. And we did Plant Power. We went through our entire food room and basically came up with, here's every plant that we use, every herb, every supplement, every oil, and here's how it can help you avoid the next bubonic plague that they drop on you from the government. Artificial versus Natural Health Part 1. We basically go through and show you, here is artificial health, and here's natural health. Which one do you want? That's Part 1. Remember, there was a Part 2 up there. Essentially Rewarding, that's dealing with all the essential oils. We Heart You Too. That's a heart class. And then Save Your Life Ahead of Time, ways that you can save your life ahead of time. And this goes all the way back to January 2021. Hindsight's 2020. The next wave, that's where we kind of reviewed the Event 201 thing with everybody, with the World Economic Forum and all of your politicians planning this thing 2 years ago. So we went back, hindsight's 2020, we went back and showed everybody this is what happened in 2020 and this is what we're looking forward to in 2021. So all of our events for the last 2 years are now available on the website. No more sending you links. No more stuff like go find that, go find this. Rumble is a pain in the butt. BitChute's a pain in the butt to go find stuff. So now we made it easier. What do y'all think of that?
Great. Awesome. That's awesome.
Fun stuff. I wanted to show you all that. So tonight, make sure, let's go back to that graphic. I mean, look at this. It's wonderful. You know how long it took us to shoot that picture? It's unbelievable. And so tonight, I want you all to know that as you leave, you'll be able, once we induct you into our cult tonight, you'll be able to pick up a free gray hooded sweatshirt, your own stethoscope. We'll give you a free vaccine out the door, and you'll have a free crack pipe. Compliments of Poopy Pants Joe. How's that sound? Let's just get right into this. The cult of modern death care. I know you're all dying, literally, to figure out what this is all about. Well, here, let's just roll this video. This is called, come on in, have a seat. This is called To Kill and Control. This is a brief history of unlawful human experiments. This is not easy to watch. There's some grody-ness in here. But check this out, because this is your health system. This is your medical care. These are your taxpayer dollars at work. Go for it. This is what we're going to talk about.
There are millions now waking up to the fact that they have been used in some sort of nefarious scientific experiment, and many are suffering serious physical side effects as a result. We can clearly see in the evidence presented by Dr. Yeadon's crew at howbadismybatch.com that different batches of the same vaccine are being deployed and monitored on a set schedule. And studies from New Zealand and Spain have shown that there is cutting-edge nanotech in the Pfizer vaccine. It is a massive human experiment. It's killing people, injuring people, and destroying people's immune, neurological, cardiovascular, and reproductive systems. People who trusted their government, and people who trusted the pharmaceutical industry. Trust is a beautiful thing with someone close, but not with strangers we see on the television, and there is never a good reason to trust your government. When a bloated government's main concern is profit and war, then psychopaths with degrees will be funded to research and develop more efficient ways of killing and controlling people. This has been going on for a long, long time. In 1932, the U.S. Public Health Service began the Tuskegee syphilis experiment. Patients were lied to about being treated for syphilis and were unknowingly kept sick and made worse. During World War II, the Russians were using unsuspecting political prisoners to test lethal poisons on. The U.S. tested mustard gas on soldiers. The Japanese tested biological weapons on Chinese prisoners. And the infamous Angel of Death, Dr. Joseph Mengele, was performing all sorts of horrific experiments on people in the concentration camps. Researchers at Vanderbilt University gave pregnant mothers radioactive iron in what they were told were vitamin drinks. In the 1950s, Dr. William Sweet was funded by the government to inject unsuspecting patients at Massachusetts General Hospital with uranium. Immunology expert Chester Southam injected prisoners in Ohio with cancer. The University of California experimented on newborns by freezing them and injecting air into their brains. Israeli doctors killed tens of thousands of Arab children with radiation poisoning. And in Montreal, Canada, Dr. Ewan Cameron was treating hundreds of patients with the same bizarre procedure. Whether they were seeking a remedy for schizophrenia, depression, or an injured leg, Dr. Cameron treated them all by putting them into a chemical coma for up to months at a time, while subjecting their bodies to electroshock. And just a few years prior to this, Dr. Cameron was invited to the Nuremberg trials for a psychiatric evaluation of Rudolf Hess. Perhaps the darkest and most prevalent experiment on humanity prior to COVID-19 is MK-Ultra, an endless web of inhumane projects primarily involving trauma-based mind control and the torture of children. While legacy media often shows you the lurid sex and drugs aspect of MK-Ultra, they don't show you the congressional testimony of victims who were kept in cages, raped, and tortured as children, in part of the U.S. government's human radiation experiments.
I was a subject in radiation as well as mind control and drug experiments performed by a man I knew as Dr. Green. The first significant memory took place at Kansas City University in 1966. Don Ebner took me there by plane when my mom was out of town. I was in what looked like a laboratory, and there seemed to be other children. I was strapped down, naked, spread eagle, on a table, on my back. Dr. Green had electrodes on my body, including my head. He used what looked like an overhead projector and repeatedly said he was burning different images into my brain while a red light flashed aimed at my forehead. I felt drugged because he had given me a shot before he started the procedure. When it was over, he gave me another shot. The next thing I remember, I was with my grandparents again in Tucson, Arizona. I was 4 years old.
The victims were given an apology by a smirking President Clinton, which is more than most victims have ever gotten. Nothing has changed. These are only a few of the many illegal human experiments that we know of, and there has never been any justice. As it stands now, Big Pharma is well protected from any liability. Governments, corporations, and strangers on TV do not deserve our trust. Their role should be to serve humanity and endure our eternal scrutiny and vigilance. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Yeah, Greg Reese's stuff is so well worded and it's so well put together. I wanted to show this because this is a good illustration of all of the unethical medical experiments that have been going on. I mean, he just mentioned a few of them, MKUltra being the biggest one he spent the most time on. But I wanted y'all to get a feel. That's where your tax dollars went. That's your medical system. That's your health care. And notice we don't call it health care. We call it death care, and it is a cult, and we'll get to that. Here's a few disclaimers, though, before we get into it. I know that the biggest employer out there is healthcare. I'm not stupid. We all have healthcare people in our families. And if they are honest with you, they will share some of this with you because most of them have to know some of this, if not all of it. If you go to a healthcare provider or no healthcare provider that doesn't know any of this stuff, you're going to the wrong one. So I would highly encourage you to ask some of your aunts who are nurses and some of your nephews and nieces who are nurses, if they know some of this stuff. And if they don't, you should educate them. You'll know by the end of tonight what I'm talking about. So we all have medical professionals in our families. Do I run the risk of stepping on some toes? Yeah, but I'd rather preach the truth, and we'll clear all that up later because people need to know what's going on. Second thing I want to say is not every doctor is a bad person. I'm not saying that. There are some altruistic doctors out there, I hope, although my faith in that decreases daily. However, the system in which they were trained, as you'll see tonight, is 100% pure pagan evil. Wow, that's a good way to win a crowd, isn't it? Lastly, outside of an emergency room, most modern American healthcare is wholly unnecessary and ineffective. That's a big statement, and I know that. But outside of an emergency room, I don't see good things happening. And I've been doing this 9 years now, and we've got people coming in shadowing us, doing internships. We're growing every day. And within the last 2 years, more people have awakened to what's happening. But there are many people that have been awake for a long, long time as far as this healthcare thing goes. Last but not least, I just wanted to state this. Medicine, it's very simple. Everything we do here is way too simple for a lot of people. A lot of people like complicated, white coat, T1, T3, MRI, CAT scan machines with big giant magnets, $1 million machines. They want their blood labs. They want their testosterone creams. This stuff here is way too simple for a lot of people. Sometimes this is not the right place for you. And I'll be the first one to tell you. If you like complicated, don't come here. If you want simple, you want biblical, you want healthcare, you want logical, you want physiologically sound stuff, know this. Medicine that harms is evil. And I would go farther and say, medicine that harms is evil and complicated. Medicine that heals is of God and very, very simple. Very, very simple. So that's me. You can quote me on that. Now, let's get right into this. People are We've talked about this in every other class. However, it bears repeating here because people are indoctrinated, fluoridated, medicated, vaccinated, glyphosated, cosmeticated, food sedated, and irradiated. What does that mean? They watch TV. They're drinking water that has poison. They're taking medications that they're told will heal them, but they're actually killing them. So they're medicated. They're vaccinated, as you can tell by the last 2 years. People lined up for an experimental bioweapon clot shot for free, by the way. You didn't have to pay for it. It's free. Totally free. You have to pay for a Tylenol, but the vaccines are free. Let that sink in for a minute. Just let it sink in. Let that just settle. Why didn't I have to pay for that vaccine? Number 5, they're glyphosated. What is that? Glyphosate is Roundup. It's sprayed on your food. So when people say, I got a problem with wheat and oats and corns and soy and all this stuff, it's not the problem. It's not that. It's not the stuff God made. It's the genetically modified crap that then they're spraying chemicals on. So gluten is not the problem. Glyphosate is the problem. You've been lied to. Cosmetics around every oracle, every oracle on your face. They're sedated by the food and they're irradiated by the 5G, the X-ray machines, their TVs, and their microwaves. So it is very likely that your coworkers and family members have differing views, at least in part, due to the list above. When all of this is happening to someone, you can't expect them to act or think or speak like a human. Effects of the above will lead to medical misdiagnosis and inevitable drugging for life. Families and workplaces, particularly in the last 2 years, are in conflict, constant conflict over misunderstood physiology and fraudulent science. What do I mean by that? You're chasing your thyroid panels thinking that that's going to fix you, and the doctor at the end of the day is going to hand you a what? Prescription for a pill. Then you're going to go, well, I don't want the pills. Then you're going to go to another doctor to get a 15th opinion, and that doctor is going to say, we're going to take it out, which is surgery, but you don't want that. So then you just bounce back and forth between specialists and endocrinologists and thyroid doctors, and then by the time you do all that, you've got depression and anxiety, you've gained 50 pounds, and now you got diabetes. So by the time you get it all figured out, you've been paying your premiums and deductibles and copays, getting robbed, screwed, blued, and tattooed to the wall, and you're trying to figure out, why am I so sick? All the while doing all of this to yourself and paying immoral, demonic companies to do that to you, to make you sick. But you don't get it. You think, my government would never do that. You just saw it. You just saw it. And it's sponsored by your government. And it's subsidized by your government. So that's why it's very difficult to get through to some people. You're not speaking to humans anymore. You're speaking to indoctrinated, fluoridated, medicated, vaccinated, glyphosated, cosmeticated, food sedated, irradiated zombies in a lot of cases, except for people who come where? Right here. We got a lot of smart people in this place, and they're getting smarter every day. Next. So here's the definition of a cult. Usually, there's a lot of gray and lime green on the walls. The people wear black. There's usually... Oh, wait a minute. That's different. This is a different cult. It's a different cult. So it is a noun, a cult, also where we get the word culture, right? A religion or religious sect generally considered to be extremist or false, with its followers often living in an unconventional manner under the guidance of an authoritarian, charismatic leader. In the last 2 years, who have you seen be a very charismatic, authoritarian leader? Anyone? You haven't seen any? No. Like Bill Gates? You haven't seen any Anthony Fauci's? You haven't seen any big billionaires on TV telling you, not doctors, not healthcare people, billionaires, right? Entrepreneurs, right? A guy who designs viruses for software and then designs the software viruses is designing vaccines for people. The same guy who wants to depopulate the earth is the guy giving you a free shot. I know it's hard to get, but with its followers often living in an unconventional manner. A lot of people think we're a cult. Why? Because we live in a very unconventional manner. We'll talk to you about that later on. Next, number 2, can also be known as the followers of such a religion or sect. People think this is a cult because we tell people to eat real food, to do stuff that God said, to stay away from the stuff that's made by man, particularly companies who want you dead. And when we tell people, hey, check out your food, your air, your water, here, watch this documentary, watch this, read this book, learn how to eat, learn how to feed yourself the right food. It's cultish. It's weird because it's not Diet Coke, right? It's not what everybody else is doing. We'll get to more of that later. And then number 3 is a system or community of religious worship and ritual. Do you think that at all describes the medical system? No? I see some people nodding heads, and then I see some people shaking heads. Let's see. Let's check it out. In ancient cultures, healers were also priests. You guys remember this? Remember this in the Old Testament? Well, let's check out what's going on now. The priests are now called doctors. The priestly garments are now called white coats. The nuns are now nurses. Possession by evil microbes is now called sickness. The temples are now called hospitals. How do I know that? Remember a while back when we did the Kids Are Sicker Than You class, I think it was, and we discovered the beginnings of St. Jude's Cancer Research Hospital for Children? Remember? Who founded that? Do you remember? Danny Thomas. Very good. Wow. How did he found that? Famous children's cancer hospital. Two words that should never go together, children and cancer. Right? Why would children's cancer? Why would kids be having cancer? Think that out. Think that out. It's not because it's genetic. But how did Danny Thomas found St. Jude's? Do you remember?
Donations.
He prayed to a Catholic saint. Anybody have a problem with that? Yes. Why would you have a problem with a dude praying to another dude? That's how St. Jude's was founded. Most hospitals in the United States are what not nationality, what denominational background? Catholic. If they're not Catholic, what are they? Methodist. Right? So the temples are now called hospitals. Next. The sacraments are now called what? I can tell this is really, these guys are a tough crowd today, I tell you what. I mean, this isn't a comedy show. You showed up to a Cult of Modern Deathcare. What do you think this was? You thought this was going to be a comedy show? Come on. The ritual is now called radiation. People schedule it and they pray about it. And the sacrifice is now called surgery. Here's my favorite. The tithe is now called a premium. How do I know? Because that is 20% of most people's income. And when you talk to people, I had this talk with somebody last week. He came in and he said, I just can't afford this. I can't afford this. I said, well, how much was your knee surgery? Well, I didn't pay for my knee surgery. How much was your knee surgery? I didn't pay for my knee surgery. How much was your knee surgery? What did he know that he forgot that he knew, that I knew that he knew? He paid for it. In what way? Premiums. Then what? Deductibles. Then what? Co-pays. Then what? Prescriptions. Then what? And I said, you got that surgery 15 or 20 years ago, and it still causes you pain to this day, and you still think you didn't pay for it. Is that a cult? He still thinks he didn't pay for it, but he paid for it for decades. Is everybody tracking with me on this? That's how they get you. You don't even think you got ripped off because it came out of your pocket pre-tax before you ever got it. Crazy, huh? So that's a definite, there's your cult right there. So what do we do here? We teach people how to use light and water and heat and electricity and plants and animals, stuff that's ancient, stuff that's been around for 6,000 years. But all this crap that they're using, all these vaccines and bypasses, you know how long those have been around? 50, 60, 90, 120 years. So who's in a cult and who's not? Next. So check this out. With the rise of science, faith in God was gradually replaced by faith in science. And people often put more faith in modern medicine than they do in God. With this first statement here, what was the whole mantra of the last 2 years? And I don't mean to keep harping back to the COVID's hoax, but what was the mantra? Trust the what? Science. Trust the science, right? But then the science changed, and you're still supposed to trust it. It went from wear a mask for 2 weeks to 2 years later, masks don't work, and we always knew they didn't work, but trust the science, right? They lie to you. These people lie to you. And you still think you're getting a deal. I don't understand. You still think you didn't pay for the stuff. People often put more faith in modern medicine than they do in God. How do I know? Go to a healing service at a local church. What will you see? Brother so-and-so and sister so-and-so, we got to pray for because their chemotherapy isn't looking good and they've got high liver enzymes and they're going to go in for radiation next week. So pray for wisdom for the Doctors. Pray for wisdom for the who? The atheist? The doctors? The people who believe in evolution? For 4.6 billion years of lightning hitting a mud puddle over and over and over again, and you somehow developing into a female, and then somebody else developing into a male, and then somehow you found each other over hundreds of millions of acres of Earth's surface through water and through mud and muck and primordial soup. And then somehow that happened with every bird, every fish, every caterpillar, every worm, every snake, every mammal. You see the problem with that? Those are the people you're trusting and that you're praying for. So then you pray for sister so-and-so with her diabetes and all this other stuff. See the problem? The church is honoring atheism and evolution and paganism, all the while sending their money to it. And you're left holding the bag going, why isn't God answering my prayers? The reason is because you're doing it to yourself. Why would God stop you? On that note, here's a commercial break. We'll get more into this, and we're going to talk about 10 questions and you have to ask yourself, and then we'll talk about how did this cult actually take form? Amanda, come on up. Yay, everybody give Amanda a round of applause.
I'm here for the good news.
Tough crowd, huh?
I think I'll have a little bit better response.
Yeah. Okay.
This testimonial says, I used to have severe acid reflux and stomach pain after eating. I was diagnosed with acid reflux at a young age and had dealt with it for several years. I was even put on a stomach medication and had to do stomach scopes. After going to Divine Design, my acid reflux and stomach pain are completely gone. I used to think it was just something I would have to live with daily, but now I realize that if you take care of your body by eating right, taking supplements, and doing things like chiropractic and detox, you don't have to.
It's so easy. You know how hard it is to convince people of that after they've had 60 or 80 years of the opposite of, oh, you're just falling apart. That's just part of getting old. It's genetic. Nothing you can do about it. That's a lie. That is a lie. Let's laugh. You guys ready to laugh?
Yes.
Okay, let's go. And then the rats go and eat the poison thinking it's food. Stupid rats. See the McDonald's on there? See, that's the problem right there. Irridated, fluoridated, food sedated, right? Oh, I'm telling you. Well, I eat healthy. No, you don't. I promise. Next. If everyone just doesn't drive for 2 weeks, we can flatten the curve. How about those gas prices, right?
Oh, wonderful.
Right? And you're believing that it's a war that's going on with Russia and Ukraine. Because all of a sudden the media started telling the truth. Right. Okay. Next. Tell me someone in this room gets this. Who gets this? Raise your hand if you get this. What movie is this?
Indiana Jones.
Does everybody get this? I don't want to have to explain it. It's so funny. He's replacing Corona with Russia. I didn't want to have to explain it, but it's too good to pass up. It's too good. That meme is too good. Indiana Jones, he's taking a golden skull off a weighted thing in an Egyptian room where everything's booby-trapped, and he has to put the exact same weight thing here, and he has to pull it off and replace it before the room senses that he's an intruder. What's happening right here?
For the COVID.
He's removing COVID and putting Russia. Unbelievable. There's no money in healthy people. There's no money in dead people. The money is right in the middle, people. Right here. That's why. That's why. Next. What movie is this? Lord of the Rings. Saruman, right? People who've been saying if it saves one life for the last 2 years, they want to blow Russia off the map. Isn't that just interesting? Okay, next. Very interesting. Guess which one is the health minister and which one is denied a health passport for refusing the shot? I forget which country. Does anybody know what country? Huh?
Belgium.
Belgium? Is that who that is? This is the health minister of Belgium.
Really?
That's not, yeah, I knew it.
That'll tell you something.
Right. Absolutely. Right. Crazy, huh? And science. This is a lying cult whose sole purpose is to separate you from any sort of belief in a creator. Every lie in this world pretty much fits under this category right here. To separate you, they misspelled whose and separate, sorry, by the way. To separate you from any sort of belief in a creator. That's basically that's the whole kit and caboodle right there. Next. So here's 10 questions an honest person. You have to ask this. You have to ask some of these questions. Here you go. Ready? Number 1. Why is America only getting sicker? We've got all the drugs, all the imaging centers. We've got all the specialists. We've got all the vaccines, including all the bioweapons. We've got everything that you would think you would need. You've got every insurance company. You've got every insurance coverage. You've got every procedure. If you have anything in your body, we can stick a camera up it, down it, through it, around it. If you want a picture of it, honey, we can put radioactive isotopes in your body. We can blow you up and light you up like a Christmas tree, and we can take a picture of whatever we want. We've got all of it. But is America getting sicker or healthier? Sicker. Number 2 question you should ask is, why is medicine only treating diseases rather than curing them? Somebody in this room, raise your hand if you know anyone who was ever cured of a disease. Anyone? Anybody? Does anybody know of anybody who knows of anybody who was ever cured of a disease? Anybody? 20, 30 people in this room. Nobody knows. With all the tests, procedures, doctors, specialists, medical centers, oncology centers, with all the physical therapists, occupational therapists, respiratory therapists, no one in this room knows of anyone who was ever cured of a disease. Number 3 question you might need to ask yourself, why is health so elusive despite the available procedures and diagnostic machines? I could send you to 6 different places in this town right now and get an x-ray, a CAT scan, an MRI. We could shove a camera up your butt, shove a camera down your throat, 5 or 6 different places in this town right now. In this town. And this is Cleveland, Tennessee. Number 4, why do pharmaceutical companies own the media? We'll talk about that. Number 5, why is your healthcare determined by insurance companies? It's not determined by your doctor. It's not determined by you. It's determined by your insurance company. Number 6, why is an emergency room Tylenol $600, but a vaccine is free at any pharmacy? That's a good one. You know, I want to do a little experiment. I want to drive around to the 125,000 pharmacies in Cleveland, and I want to get a COVID shot at each one of them. Just kidding. Number 7, you could, though. That's my point. You could. You could drive around to every CVS, Walgreens, Rite Aid. You go to every Costco, all the stores. You go to Publix, you go everywhere. And you could probably get, in one day, you could probably get 50 or 60 COVID shots if you wanted. I highly don't recommend that, by the way. Number 7, why do you pay for cough syrup, but you get free vaccines? Kind of related. It's a corollary to number 6, kind of related. Kind of making fun of the $600 Tylenols, but here, even cough syrup, you can't get cough syrup for free. You can't mail a letter for less than 50 cents, but you think you're going to get a vaccine highly developed at warp speed by the top pharmaceutical companies in the world, and it's going to be free. And there's no price you have to pay. Funny, huh? Nobody asks about it. Why do the FDA and AMA harass anyone who actually heals people while promoting dangerous drugs and procedures? We talked about this in the Cure for Cancer class. The Cure for Cancer. I named 5 or 6 doctors in that class who were run out of the United States, died mysteriously, or had their laboratories burned. Number 9. Why are heart disease, cancer, diabetes, autism, you name it, Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, name a disease. Is it getting worse or getting better? They're all going up. They're all going up in incidence and prevalence across the United States. Why? Right here, they're all continuing unabated despite research organizations sucking money out of your pocket and promising a cure. Funny, isn't it? Autism going through the roof. 40 years ago, never heard of it. You don't see any autistic people over 40, do you? Has anyone in this room seen an autistic 45-year-old? Number 10, what would healthcare look like if God was actually invited and involved? I now, to the point in my life where I don't care about the rest of the stuff, number 10 is what I've asked since day 1, since I started this place. Like, what would it really look like, Lord, if we didn't pay attention to any of the atheists, but what if we just read your word and we paid attention to you? What would healthcare look like? And to the best of my knowledge, this is it. Okay? 10 questions you have to ask yourself. Now, in the last 2 years, you've seen all of this nonsense. The release of a bioweapon funded by your own tax dollars. And remember, what are we talking about here? Cult of modern death care. Who financed it? Who propagated it? Modern Deathcare. The release of a bioweapon, who paid for it? You did. The media propaganda regarding mask wearing in 2 weeks to flatten the curve, who paid for that? You did. An ever-changing goalposts of mandates, lockdowns, illogical rules. Who made those up? Next. Hospital homicide, medical murder incentivized by one particular diagnosis. You saw people going into the hospital not coming out. Why? Well, because completely the disappearance of lung infections, pneumonia, colds, flus, any other respiratory condition. I watched all this go down. We preached on this every 2 weeks for the entire year of 2020. Every 2 weeks we put out, here's all the new stuff that's happening. Here's all the fake crap. Here's all the bull. Next. And we woke a lot of people up. Death certificates citing the same condition regardless of any pre-existing comorbidities. They could have had cancer, heart disease, strokes, diabetes. Didn't matter. That death certificate said one word. And next. The onslaught of self-testing products now available despite a flawed original premise of detection. Where did the tests come from? And where did the masks come from? And where did the bioweapon come from? Okay, interesting. I see a pattern, don't you? Brother turned against brother at holiday functions due to vaccination status. I mean, this was just stupid. Who propagated all this? Your doctors. Multiple remedies of the pharmaceutical industry, for the first time in my life, were blacklisted from prescription despite their widespread and effective use in other countries. Drugs that the pharmaceutical companies didn't want you to have access to, well, they still don't want you to have access to, but they were very much allowed in other countries. But in the United States, guess what? You could drive right across the border into Tijuana and go get ivermectin, but in the United States, your doctor could write you a prescription for it. The pharmacist wouldn't fill it. Who pulled that? Your medical system. Next, falsified statistics regarding cases and patients dying with a condition versus from the condition. Who did that? Your medical people. Next. Churches became vaccine clinics as shots were given like fast food at a drive-thru, with few concerned about the lunacy of this. How many people ever thought it was a good idea to go get a shot in your car outside in a parking lot? Have we ever done this before? People weren't thinking, were they? Have you thought this yet? Next. Unelected officials have consolidated media, technology, religion, politics, and medicine at an alarming rate for massive financial gain. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care, in the words of the great prophet George Carlin, right? The rollout of free vaccines to all with no recourse against the manufacturer if you got injured. All these people across the world have been injured, millions and millions and millions of people. How many of them have gotten payouts from the pharmaceutical companies? 0. It will never happen. Next. Millions of injuries directly related to the government-sponsored lethal injections. That are, by the way, well, we'll talk more. Well, let's finish this one here. Are they changing DNA?
Yes.
So you now have human 2.0. You have genetically modified humans. Who did that? Your medical field. Never seen before conditions now being normalized in children. Have you seen this? Kids having strokes, stuff like that. Next, widespread online censorship. Thank you. Of dissenting minds for anything contrary to the widely sponsored narrative. Now, just as the narrative started to crumble, guess what happened? Next, pretty please. The media switched gears. Vladimir Putin now has ended the dreaded plague, and everyone's back to shamelessly believing the same media that lied regarding all of this. Isn't that sick? Well, let's check out and see what they hid from you. Let's check out this video here. That is sharp. That is a sharp, those are some sharp gray hoodies we got. Yeah. What are they up front? Like $50 or something like that? You can get your Cult of Modern Deathcare gray hoodies up front for
Sale tonight, though.
yeah. $66.66. Perfect. Yeah. Let's check this out. Here you go. Here's what they kind of hid from you. Kind of. Oh yeah, skip that ad.
The Fifth Column recently published their findings and conclusions on the strange self-assembling nanotech they discovered in the Pfizer mRNA vaccines via optical microscopy analysis. The objects they found in the vaccine correspond with known items in the scientific record, and the conclusion they come to seems quite clear. that the well-documented scientific goal to use nanotechnology in living human beings to form networks capable of controlling several nanomachines is currently being deployed in the COVID-19 vaccines, which amounts to the most intrusive assault against humanity in all of recorded history. While the media and government lie and cover for Big Pharma, the official ingredients are still unknown. But we have thousands of brilliant scientists worldwide studying these experimental vaccines. Some have died in highly suspicious ways, but most have been able to share their findings. And the work shows us that graphene oxide is a key component in all of this. There have been dozens of official documented studies on the use of graphene oxide related to how we see it being used here today. Among other things, as a power converter. Graphene, a one-atom-thick layer of hexagonally arranged carbon atoms, is the thinnest and strongest material known to man, and an outstanding conductor of heat and electricity. It can boost gigahertz frequencies into terahertz, which is exactly what these new nanotech machines need for power. In order to do this, the graphene first needs a frequency to power it, and the optimal frequency to externally power graphene is known to be 26 gigahertz, which is also the frequency put out by 5G. In this model, the graphene within the body is activated by microwave signals in the gigahertz range, which it then boosts into the terahertz range, which then powers the novel nanotech machinery to self-assemble within the human body. Once assembled, what do these nanotech machines do? The images, compared to the scientific literature, suggest that they are the foundation of an internal electronic system with an endless potential for biomanipulation of the human host. Nanorouters that emit MAC addresses, able to be registered via Bluetooth. Nano and plasma antennas to amplify signals. Nanorectennas acting as rectifier bridges from AC to DC current. Codecs and logic gates for encryption of communication. The raw material for all this self-assembly is also graphene oxide. And when we compare known side effects of graphene oxide to the side effects of the COVID-19 vaccines, we find them to be the same. Once graphene oxide is injected into the body, it acquires magnetic properties, predictably around the injection site, the heart, and the brain. Graphene is seen as a pathogen by our immune system and will often result in paralysis and stroke. Graphene is known to cause blood clots and heart conditions. Graphene oxide can generate small discharges, causing cardiac arrhythmia. There is so much going on with these experimental vaccines, and the evidence seems clear that there is a mass experiment going on, with certain batches marked more deadly than others, and with certain batches that contain a bold new technology akin to a man-made parasite intended to control the host human if it doesn't kill them first in the process. Perhaps that is what the mad scientists and psychopaths are after. Human genetics that can withstand this new invasive and deadly nanotech. Reporting for InfoWars, this is Greg Reese.
Well researched. Good stuff. So that is what your medical system has done for the last 2 years. On that note, ready for some laughs? Come on up. Yay, go Amanda. Wow, tough crowd.
Tough topic.
Tough topic.
All right, this next one says, I've been a patient for a while, and my husband is not a patient yet, but had severe heartburn. He started following what I was doing, having a shake daily, eating organic, and taking some of the supplements and detoxing. After only 1 week, the heartburn was gone. He had had this issue for 15 years. No more meds for it, only vitamins and nutrition.
Yay. 15 years. 15 years of suffering, right? And it goes away in a couple months, probably? A week, okay. The suffering sucks. It's just ridiculous. All right, let's check this out. Somebody asked me why I don't trust government. There's a good list there. I'd add to it, though. There's a lot of things that should probably go on there. But Homer's got it right for the most part. It's funny that they're using Homer Simpson, the guy who is an inept who watches over a nuclear power plant. It's funny. It's who they want you to be as a male. Next. This wasn't working fast enough, so they added lethal injections. Oh, how nice. Did a whole class on this lovely Picasso landscape there. We did a whole class on that called Hands in the Air. You might want to know what that is, just FYI. That's called geoengineering. Your government calls it geoengineering. People who know that conspiracy theories are true call them chemtrails. But your government calls it geoengineering, and there are over 300 or 400 patents dealing with the equipment used in planes to drop that on you from thousands of feet in the air. Next. I know, people think it's crazy. Take 10 minutes, go home, look it up. Look up geoengineering. Don't do it. Does anybody know what this is dealing with? Yeah. Does anybody know? How many people in this room know what this is talking about? Okay, so there are half of you that don't know that there have been hundreds of European football players, soccer players, that have been dropping dead. And across the world, hundreds. Coaches, players, and managers all dropping dead. Because what did they have to get in order to play? The jab. The jab. You don't see it on the news. You won't see any of this in mainstream media. There's hundreds of soccer players who've died. So that's what that's all about. I have to explain some of these things because I forget people don't do this for fun. They don't look this stuff up. Next. Went from we're in this together to show me your papers pretty quick. That's true. Next. Then they somehow managed to demonize coughing, sniffling, and having no symptoms at all, but normalized strokes, blood clots, and neurological disorders, and died suddenly. If you just Google the words died suddenly, you'll be shocked at what you find over the last 2 years. Love this one. Hold on now, before we get into this. Dr. Robert S. Mendelsohn, MD, that means medical doctor. If you watch that class, Which Doctors Do What, it will explain to you all the credentialed medical health professionals in the United States, and your selection can be limited to one of those. You can decide who you want to go to. Now, I make a case for chiropractors because the only thing you're not going to find us do that your blood drinking, atheistic medical doctors who sacrifice you do is the things that we're not going to do that they do are drugs and surgery. So I'm a big chiropractic proponent. However, Dr. Robert S. Mendelsohn was a medical doctor. However, he wrote a couple books a long time ago. One was called Confessions of a Medical Heretic, where he backed out of the medical field and said, this is stupid. And another one called Raising Healthy Children in Spite of Your Doctor. Here's what he has to say. There's so much that the average person doesn't know about the medical profession, which I'm going to share with you tonight, that if they did, they would probably never go again for any treatment, test, or checkup because the profession has been hijacked by the pharmaceutical industry and geared simply to create lifetime customers. Yep. This was in the 60s, he said that. The 60s. He was excommunicated from the medical profession once he wrote those books. However, no one's ever been able to prove him wrong. Next. A world gone mad, where this is normal. You got a kid eating, look at all the jabs, and a kid looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man eating McDonald's. Then you've got a guy wearing a hazmat suit walking through a greenhouse spraying poisons. That's normal, but this is radical quackery. Vegetables, teas, smoothies. It's quackery. Quackery, I tell you. Oh, by the way, quackery. Does anyone know where that term came from? I know, we've talked about it in class before. I might as well just go ahead and tell you. Back in the day, the good guys and the bad guys had a battle. And it was in dentistry, and the good guys were gold and wood dentists, and the bad guys were, like lead and mercury dentists. So the good guys, that was Germany, so 1600s, 1500s, whatever it was, and the good guys called the bad guys, called them Quackenslaven, because Quackenslaven was the term, the German word for quicksilver, which is our word, what you and I would call mercury. So in other words, the good guys, the gold and wood guys, who would replace your teeth with gold and wood, right? They would call the bad guys Quackenslaven because they would call them quacks, because Quackenslaven was the the word for mercury. Oh, you should. I'm sure you would enjoy knowing this. So back then, in the 1600s of Germany, quack meant you're a bad guy. What happens to the devil? What happens to bad people? Farther down. And they turn it around, always turn it around, and they call light darkness, and they call good evil, and they call evil good. And now men can have babies, and they have uteruses. And if you tell people this is good for them, you're a quack. But if you take experimental bioweapon injections, and you get triple bypasses, and you take radioisotopic stuff that makes you glow into your veins, then that's totally normal. What's wrong with this? Are you fat phobic? That's what they're going to say. You just don't like fat people? No, it's just that kid didn't have to be like that. His parents poisoned him. They just didn't know any better. They didn't know any better. Okay, so that's the history of the word quack. So trust in medicine, particularly vaccines, has forever been changed. Why am I harping on this vaccine thing? Because look at what happened in the last 2 years. Who did this? Coming up. Medicine, for the first time ever, actually said that there were no early treatment options for this condition, while remaining completely oblivious to any option that did not come from a needle. I have a graphic on this in a minute. It's going to blow your mind. It's going to be great. Here's a stat that you need to know. Out of 1 million medical doctors in the U.S., there were only about 500 across the entire country actually standing up against this tyranny. Most of them were people I was listening to and watching them be deplatformed and censored off of Facebook, YouTube, everything else. Because they were great doctors until they said something against the narrative. And then they weren't the type of doctors people wanted to listen to anymore, right? Instead of being hailed as heroes, they were harassed and persecuted, much like the people in the cancer class we talked about that were run out of the country, right? So next. So the forced vaccination of children who have almost zero risk from the fake disease with a product known to cause heart problems, just do it, spike, right? Or don't do it, spike, can readily be described as a form of child sacrifice. If you want to know more about that, check out our class on pharmakia, what child sacrifice is, who's your friend Moloch, and what's actually happening in the world, and that might clue you into some things. Here's a quote. American doctors have proven to be cowards, cravens, zombies, and fools, facilitating Dr. Fauci's evil campaign in concert with the rapacious pharmaceutical industry and a government enthralled to sinister forces that seek to destroy this country. The doctors have disgraced and dishonored themselves. The doctors have probably undermined their own vocations, as well as the entire armature of U.S. healthcare, which they have allowed to become history's worst racketeering operation. Racketeering meaning in the pharmaceutical industry, right? So, but here's the deal. See, the whole plan is to get rid of the doctors. That's the whole plan. So who cares? They're gone anyway. They're ineffective. Next. The whole plan is get rid of your pharmacists and get rid of your medical doctors, because your drugs can be prescribed by a machine. You don't need a human to do it anymore. See, your radiologists, your pharmacists, and your family practice docs are going bye-bye. They're going bye-bye. They're not necessary. Here, I just want to run through this. We taught a whole class on this, pharmakia, the roots of your pharmakia healthcare. Most people in the world don't know this. Christians, you've been Christians for 40, 50, 60 years. You still don't know this word. I'm going to freshen you up. Pharmakia. It's a medicine or a drug from a pharmacy. It's a Greek word. It's a Greek word. It's a Greek word. But you get your English word, pharmaceutical, pharmacy, pharmacist, all comes from that word. But what is it? What's the word mean? Well, it's in the Bible. Let's talk about it. It's a medicine or a drug from a pharmacy, but it's also known as sorcery, witchcraft, alchemy, demonism, and idolatry. I didn't say it. He said it. Don't get mad at me. Understand this, and you'll understand why the cult of modern death care is the way it is. But you should probably go back and check out the pharmakia class. I don't know what number that is, but that website I showed you go to the website, go to patient info, and go to videos, and just scroll down, and you'll see the roots of your pharmakia healthcare. Here's Galatians 5:19. Check this out. Now the works of the flesh are evident, which are, look at where pharmakia is listed in here. Adultery, fornication, uncleanness, lewdness, idolatry. It's right there. That in Greek, because the New Testament was not written in English, the New Testament was written in Greek. That word right there is pharmakia. So what is pharmakia? People say, oh, it's drugs, it's street drugs, it's heroin, it's crack, it's meth. No, it's not. The only drugs that really kill people are the legal drugs. hatred, contentions, jealousies, outbursts of wrath, selfish ambitions, dissensions, heresies, envy, murders, drunkenness, revelries, and the like, of which I tell you beforehand, just as I also told you in time past. So he's talking about it now, and he's talking about in the past. Paul already mentioned this previously, right? That those who practice all these things will not inherit the kingdom of God. Church, wake up. You've been tricked. It is a cult, and it is not health care, it is death care. Well, I just can't afford natural health. I've heard it all. No, you can afford whatever you want to afford. I'm sure that $80,000 truck in the parking lot would disagree with you. You can afford anything you want. You just value certain things over your health because you've been told that it's genetic and that you can't do anything about it. Here's another example. They did not repent of their murders or their pharmakias or their sexual immorality or their thefts. That's Revelation 9:21. There are 3 other places coming up. Here goes. The light of a lamp shall not shine in you anymore, and the voice of bridegroom and bride shall not be heard in you anymore. For your merchants were the great men of the earth, for by your pharmakia all the nations were deceived. What else could there possibly be in the world that would deceive all the nations? This is not me saying this. This is John, the Revelator, in the book of Revelation, talking about the end of times. What other thing in the world could you possibly conceive of that would deceive? Let's just read that again. Your merchants were the great men of the earth. Could we say entrepreneurs? Could we say billionaires? For by your pharmakia, sorcery, witchcraft, alchemy, demonism, idolatry, all the nations were deceived. What else could deceive all the nations? Anything? Think about it. What else out there could deceive all, not some, not part, not a few, all the nations? I mean, we're talking from Africa to Madagascar to Ireland, the island nations, Latin America, Europe, China, and states. You'd be hard-pressed to think of anything else besides drugs. Next. But the cowardly, unbelieving, abominable, murderers, sexually immoral, pharmakists, idolaters, and all liars shall have their part in the lake which burns with fire and brimstone, which is the second death. I always point this out. The number one thing, the first people in line at the lake of fire are the cowards. Why? Because they're afraid of losing their money. They're afraid to believe. They're afraid to not kill that person. They're afraid to not be sexually immoral. They're afraid to not have their pharmakia, right? And I will never say take this out of context, just read this one sentence, but there's just too much. Go back to the verses before it and after it and see who's talking here and see who they're talking to. Next. But outsider dogs and pharmakists and sexually immoral and murderers and idolaters, you see the level that they're put on? See the level that this goes? Like, this is evil stuff. Why? Because it's polluting the blood. The drugs, the life of the flesh is in the what? The blood. What do vaccines do? Pollute your what? What do drugs do? Pollute your what? Now you get it. And whoever loves and practices a lie. Boom. So there's 5 scriptures right there. Next. Idolatry. What are we talking about here? It's worship of that which is not God. It's immoral, or it's excessive attachment or trust in a person or thing. Many have this for their doctor's insurance plans or the medical system in general. You talk against someone's medical plan, or you talk against their doctor, or you tell them, hey, that might not be a good idea that you moved from Washington State to Nashville to go to your oncologist, your Vanderbilt oncologist. Might not be a great idea that you moved all the way to Minneapolis, Minnesota to go to that children's hospital. They will get in your face. Specifically, before the last 2 years happened, a lot of people woke up, but you start talking to somebody about vaccines and they would try to tear you apart because that insinuates that they were a bad mother for vaccinating their kids. It's not what we were saying, though, at all. We were saying you might want to look and see what's in those vaccines, right? Most spend more on insurance and healthcare than they do on tithing or charitable donations. How do they do that? How do they get away with that? Because it's pre-tax. It's pre-tax. People love saving their money on tax, right? Pre-tax insurance plans mean that many people, they don't even tithe on that before it's stolen out of their paychecks before they even see it. So that dude last week, when I said, hey, how much did your knee surgery cost that's still causing you problems from 2 decades ago? And he said he didn't pay for it. Do you see the problem with that? He did pay for it. He paid for it 5 times. Next. It's crazy. It's nuts. All right, let's check out commercial break. Amanda, you ready? This is a tough crowd. You're right.
Yeah.
It is a little.
I get the fun part.
You do get the fun part. I'll take all the slings and arrows.
All right. This girl says, since I started my period, I have always had heavy, painful cycles with very hard cramps and mood changes. After only 6 weeks of following Dr. Brett's protocol, I woke up one morning and started my period. I had no idea it was even coming because I had no cramps, no pain, and no mood swings. Thanks, Dr. Brett.
Wow. You know who really needs to thank me for that one? Her husband. Government health advice. Stay out of the sunlight and the fresh air as much as possible. Trap bacteria and germs on your face for at least 8 hours a day. Watch TV news propaganda every day. Instill a sense of anxiety and fear in your children and get injected with untested vaccines. That's your government. And who fills this? The medical system. Government puts it out, medical system, because who's printing all the money? The government. And who's making all the money, all the fake money that was just printed? The medical field. And then when you get your stimulus checks, you turn around because you got your, $1,000 bonus at work for getting the jab, and then you turn around and you get your jab, and then you land yourself in the ER. Where does all that money go that you just thought you got from your paycheck? Into the what system? Healthcare, medical system. See how it works? They print a bunch of money, and whoever's standing closest to the money printers, they deal it out to their buddies. The big companies that want a virtue signal and say, oh yeah, everybody's vaccinated here. 95% of our people are vaccinated. The government goes, oh, you get a big bonus. Here you go. And then all those people are sick, and then you're permanent customers. Next. Love it. Trust the science. I do trust in science, but coercion is not science. Withholding data, manipulating data, cherry-picking studies, social conditioning, fear-mongering, and censorship. It's not science. Trust the science. Remember when we used to say, I trust God? Not anymore. Next. Ask your doctor if a drug with 32 pages of side effects is right for you. I'll read this for the people in the back. When you diet woke, yes. When you realize that a corrupt dominating control system has been using governments, media, and religion to manipulate humanity for thousands of years, yet every time there is a new crisis, you want to give them even more power to protect you from the problems that they themselves created. It's Indiana Jones swapping the COVID's hoax for some Russia. Oh yeah, now everybody thinks they're a political correspondent for Russia versus Ukraine. I just love it. Next. It's a visual of the exact number of vaccines, if you were to count all these, that a baby born in 2019 will receive. Tell me if you think this is normal. Once again, did you ever hear of a 40-year-old autistic kid? Nope. Our children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren are being poisoned. We must expose this, and this says this should not be any child's normal routine. Who propagates this? The vaccine schedule for children? Who propagates that? Who puts that out? The CDC. Oh my goodness, see that? That's why it pains me when I see Christians and evangelists and pastors quoting who? The CDC. Blows my mind. I can't even believe it. Here's the graphic I wanted you guys to see, okay? This is such a beautiful, wide, okay? Look at all the options that we could talk about. All of the options. Could talk about gut health. Could talk about what you put in your gut. See, it's not what you eat. You become what you eat. You become what you absorb. So when people are taking drugs that block their digestion, it's going to change who they are. Could talk about exercise. We could have talked about nature time. This is all the stuff medicine could always talk about, see? Medicine never talks about anything here. Medicine talks about germs and genes. They hardly talk about vitamin D. They just started having to talk about vitamin D 10, 15, 20 years ago because the research coming out was irrefutable. Antioxidants, hardly ever. Inflammation reduction, yeah, they'll give you non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs and get rid of the inflammation, but the inflammation is a good thing because that's what your body's doing to fix the problem. You've been told it's a bad thing. Well, I don't think it's really a disease. I think it's just inflammation. How many times have you heard that? I think it's just inflammation. Early treatment, never said a word about it. Nutrition, never said a word about it. Vitamin C, yeah, but any vitamin C that you hear of is what? Intravenous or emergency, yeah, the powder that you put in a drink and you shake up and you drink it, right? Or it's intravenous vitamin C. Is intravenous vitamin C natural? Nothing intravenous is natural. Stress reduction, off-patent drugs. Could have talked about all of this, but what was the only focus? The only thing that could have fixed anything? Right there, right? That should be a clue to you next. In today's medical profession, you have evolutionary atheism is now the foundation of all public education and college science. All of it. Even if you go to a Christian university, you're going to have biology teachers or biology professors speak to you about evolution. I don't want to get into it right now. That's my specialty. I love talking to people about evolution. I love just absolutely destroying it with creation science. I love it because I was here at one point and now I understand both sides of it. Medical education is completely devoid of any respect for creation, and any discourse regarding God is prohibited. The objective is to generate repeat business. Remember what Robert Mendelsohn said? The objective of medicine, the objective of your healthcare, or what I call the cult of modern death care, the objective is to make you repeat business. The protocols and standards that doctors pledge to practice do not allow natural means. I've said it a million times, I'll say it again. If you go to a doctor, do not complain. If you go to a medical doctor, do not complain that all he did was give you drugs. Why? That's all he can do by law and by license. And he is not going to break the law and have to take his kids out of private school so that you can have herbs. He's not going to do it. He's not going to do it, I can assure you. He's not going to recommend, go back to that visual there, Jonathan, for a minute. He's not going to recommend any of those except these right here. You're going to a plumber and asking him to paint your house. Do you think it's going to be a good job that he does? Because all he's allowed to do is drugs, vaccines, or surgeries. That's it. That's it. So you're going to the wrong person. If you don't want drugs or surgery, you're going to the wrong person. Well, but he's just given me a colonoscopy. Okay, and the colonoscopy will lead to what? Drugs or surgery. Period. That's all I can do. Well, no, my doctor's only going to give me a mammogram. And the mammogram will lead to drugs or surgery. Well, but he's going to image my thyroid. And the image of the thyroid will lead to drugs or surgery. Well, he's just going to give me a bone scan, DEXA for my bone scan. Well, and the DEXA bone scan will lead to, do you see the pattern? I'm just getting a colonoscopy. I'm just getting, fill in the blank. So, drugs and surgery are offered as the only viable treatment options. There you have it. Next. Simple issues are often escalated into acute emergencies. How do I know? Oh, and remember, go back. Objective is to generate repeat business. How do they do this? Free healthcare screenings. How do they do this? Yearly exams. How else do they do this? Free vaccines. That's how they do that. Want to know why you don't see anybody over 40 with autism? Do you remember the kids' vaccine schedule? It's super easy to put together. You just got to want to see it. And the simple issues, go back to this one, Jonathan. Often escalated into acute emergencies. You've heard it, you've seen it. Somebody went in to the doctor, they found a heart murmur, they found high blood pressure, they found high cholesterol, they ran a hormone panel and they said, oh my God, you're a ticking time bomb, we need to fix this. And then they give you a triple bypass and you're in the hospital for 3 weeks. How many of you, aunts, uncles, cousins, grandparents? That's what that is. Simple issues are often escalated. How'd they get into that situation? Because the doctor took a stethoscope and went, oh, I hear a heart murmur. And everything went downhill quickly from there. Amen? Amen. Next. Doctors are seen as heroic firemen who rescue the perishing by putting out the very fires started earlier by none other than themselves. Heroic firemen. Propagated by the media. Shows like House and Scrubs and even far back, Trapper John, MASH, all the shows that show you doctors are gods, right? Polypharmacy, how many of you know what that is? Does anybody know that word? It's people who are on multiple drugs, which is everyone out there, everyone pulling up to a stoplight with you, is of little concern despite well-known side effects of every drug ever created. You know what, Lauren, can you go grab the book in the front room there? Drug-induced diseases. I want you all to see this. Next. Menstruation is a disease often treated by birth control, ladies. Pregnancy is a disease with cesarean sections or abortion being the only offered solutions. All of your abortions are performed by who? Huh? Doctors. What kind of doctors? Chiropractors? Are they chiropractors? Medical doctors. All your abortions, all your organ harvesting, all your organ transplantation. Thank you, darling. What is this right here? Make sure we can see this. What is this? What does this say? Drug-induced diseases. This is a medical textbook, right, from a medical school, written by pharmacists, for pharmacists. Drug-induced diseases, prevention, detection, and management. Drug-induced diseases. What do you think this book is about? How are the diseases started?
Taking drugs.
What causes the diseases?
Drugs.
But it's a textbook in medical schools. But it's a textbook in pharmacy schools. What's the name of the book again?
Induced diseases.
How are the diseases started? By the drugs. Sold by who?
Pharmacy.
Doctors.
Doctors. Ha! It's right there. It's too easy. It's too easy. I use their own stuff against them, but I'm the quack. I love it. I absolutely love it. Don't forget your hoodies, your vaccines, and your crack pipes are at the front desk. You think I'm kidding about the crack pipes? We got a shipment from Sleepy Joe. Lab numbers dictate health rather than a patient's own body. Ladies, can I get an amen on that one? But I feel sick. But your labs are normal, ma'am. But I feel sick. But your labs are normal, ma'am. But I feel sick. But your labs are normal, just like all the other sick people. But I feel sick. It's all in your head. And then you're on antidepressants. Next. Millions have been alienated and disenfranchised in the last few decades, not just the last 2 years. 2 million people are admitted to hospitals each year suffering from adverse drug reactions. Right before this class started, there were sirens wailing by, and I said, oh, ADRs, from prescription and over-the-counter drugs. But they're still taught where? Medical schools and pharmacy schools, and you have how many hundred pharmacies in this town alone? It's right there. Opiate and narcotic addiction push patients to street drugs to find cheaper prices. That's where all the addicts come from, people. They start out with a car accident. They go to a doctor. They get an opiate painkiller. Then they say, well, I can't afford this crap anymore. My insurance is cutting me off. So I got to go find cheaper stuff. Where do they find it? On the street. It's cheaper. So when people say they can't afford health care, I just say, I'm cheaper than your dealer. I'm way cheaper. Next. God, nobody's laughing at any of my best stuff, I'm telling you. Proper drug administration kills well over 100,000 Americans per year. Medical mistakes and improper meds kill another 100,000. So that's 200,000, 250,000, 250,000 people a year just in the United States. Okay? And those are old statistics from 15 years ago. Barbara Starr and the Starr Report, you probably don't know what that is. 250,000 people, just say 250,000 people a year. That's more than all street drugs combined, but it doesn't appear in the headlines. That's what? That's roughly about what? 5,000 people a day? If you were to do the math, 250,000 people, 250,000 people divided by 365. You've got a jumbo jet liner going down multiple. You've got a couple thousand people a day going down in a flame of glory paid for by government and by your own tax dollars, right? Getting sucked out of your paycheck with your premiums, deductibles, copays, coinsurance, and then they get you on the backside. They only charge you $5 at the pharmacy. You feel like you got a deal. Guess what? You got boatloads of people hitting the dirt every day. It would be like a 9/11 every day happening every day in the United States alone, not even the rest of the world. Every day you've got a 9/11 happening and it doesn't appear on the headlines. Who owns the headlines again? There you see, you're getting it. But if a jet did crash, if a jet went down with like 1,000 people on, how long would it be on the news? Months. Months.
30 seconds.
Huh?
30 seconds.
You're wrong. It'd be on the news for months. Months.
685 people a day.
That's 685 people a day. So 700 people a day going down in a flaming heap of glory. 250,000 divided by 365. 700 people a day. And that's happening every day. So every week, a 9/11 is happening. Iatrogenia is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. behind cancer and heart disease. What is iatrogenia? It's a big, long word, stupid word, but I had to put it there to...
Medical caused diseases.
Huh?
Diseases caused by medical care.
Diseases caused by doctors. Iatrogenia is the third leading cause of death in the U.S. behind cancer and heart disease. That statistic has been the same for 22 years or more, probably, that we know about, right? Oh, it's unbelievable. So here goes. Your body has 100 trillion cells all working in harmony with little conscious effort on your part. Did anyone in here have to think about growing your fingernails or your hair or digesting your food or fixing your... Did anybody have to think about that? Craig, I know you were thinking about growing your nails. I know. We'll talk about that later. Anybody had to think consciously of any of this? Did you have to think about fixing the paper cut on your finger from a week ago? No. All of this stuff, 100 trillion cells, all of the interactions happening seamlessly without you even thinking about it, right? What do drugs do? Here goes. They're specifically designed to block, to suppress, or to inhibit the body's processes. Every drug has a name in its title that says it's a blocker, a suppressor, or it's an inhibitor. If you read John 10:10, you could read that as the thief has come to steal, kill, and destroy. Your body is tricked and manipulated by noxious chemical poisons. Here's how. Check this out. Beta blockers, calcium channel blockers, other things, proton pump inhibitors, SSRI drugs, they always are anti, you'll notice. Anti-natural process, diarrhea. Anti-natural process, come on, Jonathan, where are you at? Natural process, anti-nausea. Anti-natural process, itch. See, these are all diseases now. Anti-natural process, rash. A rash is a good thing. You want one, trust me. Anti-inflammation, right? We shut down the inflammation. Antihistamines, what's that? Your body's trying to sneeze and cough and push stuff out, push stuff out, push stuff out, push stuff out. What do? Take a drug to keep it in. Great idea. Keep the poison in, plus now your body has to fix itself from the see? She's detoxing right now. Good job, Deanna. See? So now your body has to keep that stuff in because you're taking a drug to keep it in, and it's got to detox from the cough or the diarrhea or the puke that you're trying to push out. It's got to handle that. Now it's also got to handle the drug you just took. It's satanic. It's completely demonic. It is completely tricking your body, and there's no other way for you to pass that away. There's no other way for you to just glance over that. You can't. I challenge you. Well, but I might be nauseous if I'm, this and that. Oh, I'm pregnant. I'm supposed to be nauseous. No, you're not. Who told you that? I'm supposed to just, diarrhea is bad. No, diarrhea is good. Diarrhea is your body doing what it was designed to do. You've been told it was a disease, right? Your rash, your inflammation, sneezing, coughing, from commercials and things for decades, you've been told sneezing and coughing is bad. Okay, here's a short little article. I want to read this to you because this is the best, simplest. I was going to write it all out. Then I came across this article and I said, man, this is good. This is really well written and it's short, okay? You guys need to know this because there's Rockefeller University, there's Rockefeller Center, there's Rockefeller Institute. There's this name that's synonymous all throughout the United States. Well, the other thing it's synonymous with is oil and drugs because all of the drugs have to come from oil. This is a great article that I wanted to share with you guys. It's called How Rockefeller Founded Modern Medicine and Killed Natural Cures. Okay, I know a lot about this topic. So when I saw this, I said, wow, this is really well done. Whoever wrote this, I don't see the guy's name, but I should give him credit. I'll read this to you word for word. It's very short. People these days look at you like a weirdo if you talk about the healing properties of plants or any other holistic practices. Amen. Hallelujah. Yep. Praise the Lord. You start talking about essential oils and supplements and plants and animals and what God put on earth so that you don't have to bow down to cancer or COVIDs. People look at you like you got a third eye, but they love their chemo and their radiation because it's more complicated. It makes them sound cooler. Much like anything else, there's a lot of politics and money behind our modern medical system. I'll say, I just spent an hour and a half telling you. It all starts with John D. Rockefeller. Born in 1839, died in 1937, who was an oil magnate, a robber baron, America's first billionaire, and a natural-born monopolist. By the turn of the 20th century, he controlled 90% of all oil refineries in the U.S. through his oil company, Standard Oil, which was later on broken up to become Chevron, ExxonMobil, etc. Let's pause on this right here so y'all can see this. The evolution of Standard Oil. By the way, if you wanted to see a good documentary on this whole thing dealing with Rockefellers, Vanderbilts, we're in Tennessee, by the way, you should probably know this, Carnegie's, who else? The Men Who Built America is a documentary on the History Channel. You can, genius, genius. And how these guys all got together and planned the steel. Carnegie's would take the steel, Vanderbilt would take the, what was Vanderbilt?
Railroad?
No, it was Carnegie, right? Vanderbilt, no, you might be right. And then, Rockefeller was in charge of the oil and how they all connived and manipulated each other. And then the day that, Rockefeller figured out, well, I'll screw the railroads and the steel. I'll put pipes in the ground and we'll build a pipeline. He's a genius, evil genius, but it was amazing how now pipelines, we're still talking about pipelines today. He cut out the railroads and the steel by putting it underground. It was awesome. But the evolution of Standard Oil, basically, this just shows that he broke it all up. And, he had a monopoly, so what did he do? He broke his one company into like 40 other companies and then paid 40 of his guys to sit on the board of all these companies.
So he made it legal.
He made it legal.
Yeah.
Now you're looking at, the big four, and it's phenomenal. But you should watch that documentary. Scroll down. At the same time, around 1900, scientists discovered petrochemicals. Remember what that word, petroleum chemicals, right? And the ability to create all kinds of chemicals from oil. For example, the first plastic was made from oil in 1907. Scientists were also discovering various vitamins and guessed that many pharmaceutical drugs could be made from oil. This was a wonderful opportunity for Rockefeller, who saw the ability to monopolize the oil, chemical, and medical industries at the same time. Best thing about petrochemicals is that everything could be patented and sold for high profits. Right? But there was one problem with Rockefeller's plan for the medical industry. Natural herbal medicines were very popular in America at that time. Almost half the doctors in medical colleges in the U.S. were practicing holistic medicine, using knowledge from Europe and Native Americans. Well, we can't have that nonsense. We have to crush that. He went to his buddy, Andrew Carnegie, another plutocrat who made his money from the steel industry, who devised, Vanderbilts were railroad, Carnegie was steel, what's-his-face was oil. So, see, the steel guys had to have, the railroad guys had to have Carnegie for his steel. The oil guys had to have Carnegie for the pipelines. See how it all fit together? Genius. You got to watch that. So he went to Carnegie. So if you hear Carnegie Mellon University, if you hear Carnegie Hall, if you hear, these names are synonymous with American culture because these cats ruled everything with an iron fist. So he went to Andrew Carnegie, who made his money from monopolizing the steel industry, who devised the scheme. From the prestigious Carnegie Foundation, they sent a man named Abraham Flexner to travel around the country and report on the status of medical colleges and hospitals around the country. This led to the Flexner Report in 1910, which gave birth to the modern medicine that we know. Needless to say, the report talked about the need for revamping, centralizing, I hate that word, our medical institutions. Based on this report, more than half of all medical colleges were soon closed. Homeopathy, natural medicines, things that we do in this office, were mocked and demonized. Doctors were jailed. That's where the term quack came back into practice, meaning bad guys calling the good guys quacks. To help with the transition and to change the minds of other doctors and scientists, Rockefeller gave more than $100 million to colleges and hospitals. That's why that name is everywhere. and founded a philanthropic front group called General Education Board, which is the classic carrot and stick approach. In a very short time, medical colleges were all streamlined and homogenized. All the students were learning the same thing. Medicine was all about patented drugs. Scientists received huge grants to study how plants cured diseases, but their goal first was to identify which chemicals in the plant were effective and then recreate alchemy, sorcery, witchcraft, a similar chemical, but not identical in the lab that could be patented. Why? Because you can't patent a tomato, but you can patent a genetically modified one. It's all about the seed. God's whole deal. They're saying it right here. The fake, the counterfeit. They can't create anything. They can only copy it and pervert it, right? A pill for an ill became the mantra for modern medicine, and you thought the Cook brothers were evil. Well, now we are, 100 years later, churning out doctors who know nothing about the benefits of nutrition or herbs or any holistic practices. We have an entire society that is enslaved to corporations for its well-being. America spends 15% of its gross domestic product on healthcare, which should really be called sick care. It's focused not on cure, but only on symptoms, thus creating repeat customers. There's no cure for cancer, diabetes, autism, asthma, or even flu. Read that last one right there. Why would there be real cures? This is a system founded by oligarchs and plutocrats, not by doctors. As for cancer, oh yeah, the American Cancer Society was founded by none other than Rockefeller in 1913. In this month of breast cancer awareness, it's sad to see people being brainwashed about chemotherapy, radiation, and surgery. That's for another blog post, but here's a quote from John D. Rockefeller that summarizes his vision for America. You can't see it in the back. I don't want a nation of thinkers, I want a nation of workers. Author, I do want to give credit to Chris Canthan. That was very well said. Very short, concise, succinct, to the point. Great. So, knowing that, here's a list of other gifts the medical field has generously given us. Check this out. This is wonderful. Genetic testing. And you thought 23andMe and Ancestry.com was good. Well, guess what? Those and the little swabs going up in your nose, those all go somewhere. You know that, right? Can we develop testing? Can we develop a bioweapon, or could we develop a shot that would take out you and only you and no one else but you based on your genetics? We have the technology. Those all go somewhere. You're giving your genetics to someone. Well, vaccination, we already talked about that. Now remember the two things that medicine says every disease comes from: genes and germs. So what do they do with the whole COVID's thing? They developed a germ warfare bioweapon injection that changes your genes. They got two for the price of one. Isn't that crazy? Here's a list of other gifts. The psychiatry, all of the chemical imbalance stuff that you've been thinking for years is fake. There's no such thing. Oh, hormonal imbalance too. Fake. No such thing. Well, she's got a lot of extra weight. It's just her hormones are imbalanced. No, it's food. Those ideas came from psychiatry, which is the most evil subspecialty of medical doctors in the world ever invented. Psychiatry. Why? Because it's meant to enslave the mind of man. If there is one bent of medicine that hates God, it's that one right there. I promise you. Eugenics. Does anyone know what eugenics is? Eugenics.
Messing with your genes.
Eugenics. Changing, well, think of Hitler building a master race, white people, blonde hair, blue eyes. That's eugenics. Where did Hitler get those ideas? United States, California. That's where those ideas came from. Hitler was a huge fan of Charles Darwin. I won't go into all the details about eugenics, but this right here, think of Margaret Sanger. Who was Margaret Sanger? What organization did Margaret Sanger run? Planned Parenthood. Gene editing. So now you've got people thinking it's a good idea to change your genes. This is testing. This is editing. See, there's a difference. Yeah, we won't get too much into that. But gene editing, now they're making designer babies, stuff like that. We've already got genetically modified babies out there. You just don't know about it. We did a sheep like 40 years ago. I mean, you still think they're not doing babies? It's out there. Birth control. Let's manipulate the ability to conceive, right? Abortion, the leading killer of man in the history of the world, right there. Condoned by your government. Sterilization. You saw in the first video that we showed that many people were sterilized. Then, once you're sterilized, but you don't know you're sterilized, what are you going to turn around and ask for? Fertility treatments. IV drip therapy. How about all this COVID's nonsense where people were talking about monoclonal antibodies? You know where they get monoclonal antibodies? The blood of other people. So now you're getting genetically modified ingredients plus the blood of other people spun down in a monoclonal antibody, and you're getting an IV drip of it into your body. They're making you a cannibal. It's unbelievable. Then transhumanism, we've done whole classes. Natural versus artificial part 1, natural versus artificial part 2. You want to see what's on the horizon for the transhumanistic thing where we merge man with machine? That's what that is. Artificial intelligence, we spoke about that ad nauseum on the artificial versus natural part 1 and 2. Other gifts, organ removal. Where did we learn how to remove organs? World War II, prisoners of war, right? And then that just goes to the next thing, which is organ transplants. How do I know organ harvesting is happening? Pull out your driver's license, look on the back. Is that little box checked? You're being organ harvested. Are you being paid for that? No. Who's making the money off that? Do the hospitals pay for the organs? How about this? Put this together. The blood donation, you give your blood for free. Somebody goes in to the hospital. Do they pay for the blood? Somebody does. So you're giving your blood and your plasma for free, getting milked like a cow. Somebody's making money off of that. And your plasma's being pulled out, spun down. And where are all those proteins in your blood being sent? Pharmaceutical companies. For what? To be included in drugs so that people can take them and become cannibals off of your blood. I know, it's disgusting, but this is your medical system. It's time somebody tell you what's happening. So all of this stuff here, organ removal and organ transplants, basically we're removing your gallbladder, your appendix, your wisdom teeth, your tonsils. Why? Because all of those organs we don't use anymore. It's evolution, right? It's atheism. So don't tell me that medicine is based on good, moral, sound, ethical principles. It's based on demon worship. It's what it is. Organ transplants, anything that tells you God does not exist, right? And they won't even entertain the idea. Medical textbooks are going to be, these right here are going to be changed soon. How? To include men with uteruses. Watch. Just watch. Blood donation, hospice, that's a gift from the medical field. Is hospice good or bad? Hospice will drug you before they know your name. You decide. Nursing homes, that's a gift they gave us. Depopulation, we'll get to that in just a minute. And oh my goodness, that climate change came from the medical field too, as a matter of fact. Climate change. If you're still believing in that nonsense, we got a class for you. Which one was that? I don't remember. Climate change. Huh?
Hands in the air.
Hands in the air, yes. Thank you very much. The hands in the air class, if you're still believing that the climate is changing, you might need to go check out the class called Hands in the Air. They're changing the climate, but they're doing it. Okay, so here's the hierarchy. Check this out, and then we're done. That's pretty much it. Hierarchy of depopulation. I'll talk about it. I'll say it for the back. We talked about depopulation in the artificial versus natural classes, I believe. We talked about the who's behind it, what are they doing. Shoppocalypse, I think we talked about it. Here's how it works. You got Wall Street, whose goal is to profit from investing in the corporations that are creating the death and disease. So all your stocks. I know chiropractors that during the whole COVID's scandemic invested in pharmaceutical companies to make money off the vaccine. I wanted to rip their throats out. However, the Wall Street people are investing in the corporations that are spewing the death and the disease. So then the corporations are profiting from the vaccines and the subsequent cancers and heart attacks and neurological damage that you're seeing right now. Well, that you're not seeing right now if you're watching the news, but it's happening. Then that feeds into the governments, and they use the bioweapons and the vaccines to obtain dictatorial powers, to get your little COVID pass on your phone so they can lock you down, get you fired from your job, all that stuff if you stand up against it. And then the governments feed into the globalists who exterminate, their goal is to exterminate 90% of the human race. Now, you used to think this was conspiracy theory, but you see what's going on in the last couple of years. I am fresh out of conspiracy theories. If y'all have any more that I haven't heard. I'm dying in a few more because I haven't found one yet that's not 100% right on. Haven't found one yet. And we could stay here all night and talk about them because these are the same people pulling all of them. So next, they hate you. Last commercial break, and then I've got a little table for you to make sense of everything that we just did, and then we'll get out of here. Let's go for it.
All right. This one says, we have been coming since April of 2021, and we love how we feel. So naturally, we shared what we've learned with our daughter and son-in-law and our 3 grandchildren. Even though they don't come here yet, we purchased supplements for the kids, and the food change at home has started the fabulous way to health for them. They are already sleeping better and behaving better. My daughter has noticed a change when non-approved food is eaten. We are so excited for them to get healthy at ages 3 and 4.
Wow. It's so easy. So, Dr. Brett, are you telling me that, kids' behavior can be changed by the food they eat?
Yes.
Yes. Are you telling me that my grandkids won't be as sick if we stop them from eating pizza and animal crackers and goldfish? Yes. Are you telling me my kids might not be suffering from ADHD? Yes. Are you telling me it's not genetic like my doctors told me? Yes. It's that simple. See, I told you, this was way too simple for a lot of people. A lot of people, this won't fit into their paradigm. Okay, let's get some laughs. You guys ready to meme what you say and say what you meme? Check this out. Oh, this is Dr. Simone Gold. She was a, doctor of the world until all of this stuff happened, and she woke up and said, this is crap, and then she got blacklisted. This was just a few days ago. Google sent her a notice stating they'll be removing the America's Frontline Doctors website from search results. You'll have to go directly to the website and spell it correctly, or Google will not even register that they exist. We're a team of medical doctors who dared to speak the truth. We've been proven right again and again and again, and they have. I've followed them since day one. I followed them before day one. But yeah, they're getting, if they came after somebody like me who had 250-something subscribers on YouTube, they shut us down on YouTube? Yeah, seriously. Next. There it is. Wartime propaganda over here. Pfizer data documents. Nobody cares. Nobody seems to notice. Nobody seems to care. Next. Person of the year. That's me 2 years ago. I had a beard then. It's conspiracy theorist. I love that word. People have a hard time with it. I just say I'm a conspiracy realist because there's no such thing as a theory anymore. Here's the deal. The people who do all of this bad stuff, the demon worshiping elites that are doing all of this, here's the deal. They write books and they tell you what they're going to do. Next. Most people don't read them though. If it were named what it really is, 24/7 surveillance data mining tracking device, GMO mind-altering chemicals. You want to know why people, radiation, food sedation, right? Distraction and perception management, social engineering and predictive programming. Remember indoctrination from the television? All the Hollyweird people. College, just ahead, Government Indoctrination Center. If you ever want to learn the truth, you will not find it in college. I should know. I went to one for like 14 years. Next, big pharma sales representative. That's your doctor. They've conditioned you to believe their poison is medicine. They've conditioned you to believe their indoctrination is education. They've conditioned you to believe their propaganda is news. And worst of all, they've conditioned you to believe those who are aware are your enemy. Of course. Next. Medical science has made such tremendous progress that there's hardly a healthy human left. God, I love that. I love that. Isn't that great? I've never seen that one before. Next. High-profile politicians and world leaders pretend to hate each other, to divide the masses and keep them distracted with scripted performances, but they all belong to the same secret societies, have dinner together, attend the same rituals and occult ceremonies, cult of modern Deathcare, and laugh at the people that buy the theater. They laugh at people. They get rid of the COVID scamdemic, and here comes Russia, right? Next. What should you be looking for in true healthcare? Okay, so all of that aside, how do you fix this? Well, we don't. Do we try to fix the government? Too far gone. Do you try to fix the Federal Reserve? Too far gone. Get your money out of the banks. Get your money out of the banks. I've been saying that for 2 years. But can you fix the federal? No, you can't. There's too much money changing hands. There's too many fat cats. Can you fix medicine? No. Can you fix insurance? No. Can you fix pharmaceuticals? Absolutely not. There's no way. You can't fix it. Are we trying to build a new system? We're just set up a parallel economy outside of all of it where it doesn't touch us. That's what we've done here. You can't fix it. There's no reforming it. There's no changing it. It's too evil. So what should you be looking for in true healthcare? Well, if you want patented drugs, go to modern medicine. If you want side effects, surgeries, procedures, all of this stuff, if that's what you want, if you want to live in fear from cancer falling out of the sky and not knowing where did it come from, or if you want to live in fear with the next COVID's bioweapon scamdemic thing that they drop on you where the media lies through their teeth, if you want that, don't come here. If you want expensive, if you want danger, if you want more vaccines, if you want to be a government pincushion, if you want everything that you do to be opposite to the word of the living God, do not come here. Go here. You have options. You don't have to come here. This isn't the right thing for everybody. Just because you come here doesn't mean that we're going to accept you as a patient. You have to agree to a few things. This is not just, we don't accept your Blue Cross Blue Shield, so we got to put up with you. We don't have to do squat. Understand that. You have to work to be a patient here. This is not easy. And if you want man-made stuff, do modern medicine. However, if you want ancient plants, actual healing, if you want somebody to lay hands on you and pray with you and anoint you with oil, you're in the right spot. If you want no procedures because they're largely unnecessary, if you want pregnancy instead of a disease to be sacred, I adjusted a 5-day-old like a month ago. It was a sacred moment. I said 5 days old. 2 hands, barely. 5 days old. It's fabulous. Oh, did it die? Yeah. Oh, crap. Here, can you replace this real quick? Can you run that back to me? Or here, just give me this. Throw me on the 58. That'll work.
Please confirm that the Mike died, not the baby died. That's what I was saying.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. Whoa. Okay. Let's rewind. Let's edit that. Yeah, the microphone died, not the baby. Wow, that came at the wrong time. Jeez.
I heard a simultaneous gasp from the room.
I wondered what was going on. Wow. Okay. Yeah, the baby is alive and well. Oh, he's growing like a weed. It's fabulous. But if you want pregnancy to be sacred, if you want somebody who's pulling with you alongside of you, saying that this is a wonderful sacred moment, and we are not going to schedule you for an epidural or a vitamin K shot or any of this other nonsense or a cesarean for the doctor to make his tea time. We're going to walk right through this with you. Great. If you know that most tests are largely unnecessary, what about my thyroid? Unnecessary. What about my lipid panels? Unnecessary. What about my liver enzymes? Largely unnecessary. If you want faith rather than fear, honey bunny, you're in the right spot. If you want affordable rather than this nonsense, you're in the right spot. Everything we have in that food room, for many of you who are new, you can get a tour, and you'll see everything in that food room is safe, affordable, effective. It's good for cats. It's good for dogs. It's good for babies. It's good for breastfeeding moms, pregnant moms. Nothing we do here can hurt you unless you fall off the table or off the chair or something. I guess that there's always a risk. And then if you want immunity rather than vaccines, if you want congruence with the word of God, and if you want things that are God-made, we do light, water, heat, electricity, plants, animals, my hands. That's it. That's simple. Okay, that's it. Did you all learn anything?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mucho.
Fabulous. Mucho. All right, we'll take a couple questions, if there are any questions, and then we'll sign off, and then we'll do a little wheel of wellness. Questions, going once. Thoughts, ideas, cries of outrage. Craig. Well, go ahead. I'll repeat it for everybody. Thank you, buddy.
Shared one of the memes, and there was something about Pfizer data leak or something. Pfizer data documents. Is that a new?
Oh, yeah. There we go. You got me? I've got them both on now. Pfizer data documents. Yeah, there was some data documents. Pfizer came out with, there were like 9 pages of side effects, and they were all written in like 6-point font. What is a small, what's microscopic?
6 is like the smallest that Microsoft Word will even let you go.
It's like a 6 or 7 or 8-point font. It was 9 pages of side effects.
From what?
This is the stuff from the Pfizer vaccine, and apparently this is the stuff that Pfizer wanted that hidden for 75 years, remember?
Yeah.
Apparently that's what that was. So 9 pages of side effects and 6-point font, 8-point font, whatever it was. And
Is the
by human eyes. Okay, so yeah, it probably was 6. It's sick, man. It's sick. These people, they do it, they get away with it, and they love it, and they hate you. And they hate the creation. They hate humans because they think they're better than you, because you're made in the image of God, and they hate you. So that's why they want you dead. That's it. It's the simplicity of it. So why would they tell the truth? They've always lied. I mean, you're talking about the largest, organizations in the world that have been all tried and found guilty for fraud, malfeasance, and bribery.
The cost of doing business.
Correct. So we expect them to be moral and ethical? These people are demon worshipers. They lie for a living. It's what they do. It's a cult of modern deathcare. It's what they do. Don't expect them to do anything differently. They're not going to find Jesus tomorrow. You know what I mean? It's what they do. These people, they sacrifice your infants. They harvest your plasma. They harvest your blood. They do it on purpose. All the list, go back to the thing, the gifts that we've gotten from medicine. They harvest your organs. They transplant your organs. They don't tell you about nutrition. They don't tell you, Jonathan, can we go back? I'm sorry. I just got to give you a second. All of the stuff that they've been doing, they've done it for decades, centuries, some of it. Look at it. Nope, next. Back a couple more. Back. Right there. Look at that. That's what your medical system has given you. Is any of this anything that any of you want? Does anybody want anything there? Maybe this one right here. But if you really knew why you were infertile, you wouldn't need that. Well, yeah, but I had some acne and some pain and some bleeding. Yeah, it's called menstruation. It's not a disease. It's a normal part of your life. And it was probably a lot more painful, a lot more bloody, because you were eating crappy food and irradiated and indoctrinated and stuff. But if you eat just real food, guess what? All of this stuff gets better, right? Does anybody want anything on there? No, you don't. But they're going to force these on you sometime soon. They're going to try to force it on you. So yeah, the Pfizer documents. Anyway, I could preach about this all day long. And we did this for the last 2 years? We've done how many messages on what's happening in the world? And people just look at you like the fluoride stare. They're like, what? What's happening? Yeah, this is really happening. It's really happening. It's crazy. Anything else? Yeah.
Genesis 6, the original attack by Satan against the human race, messing with genes, creating giants.
Correct.
That's the reason why the whole world was corrupted and the flood had to come.
Yes, Gordon Reeves is a good point there. Genesis chapter 6, look into it. Look at, Noah was perfect in his generations, right?
Yeah.
He wasn't perfect in his morality. He wasn't perfect sinless. He was perfect in his generations. He was perfect in his genes.
Right.
It's the root word of genes. So Noah had not had corrupted seed in his body, right? He was made in the image of God, right? Well, most of flesh on earth had already been corrupted. We won't get into all this right now. However, all the plants and animals, the Bible even says, the plants and animals, everything had to die because all flesh had what? Been corrupted. How did it get corrupted? Sons of God and the daughters of men, right? So they've been changing DNA since day one. And that is why the angels were chained in Tartarus. This was a mortal sin against God himself. They're trying to change the DNA of man so that the Messiah could never come.
Right.
You see?
Yep. Absolutely.
Now they're still doing it. But they want to wreck the DNA because now the Antichrist is going to come, right? And whose DNA is the Antichrist going to have? I know. God, this topic gets worse and worse, doesn't it? Gets worse and worse. So yeah, read Genesis chapter 6. It'll show you. What else? One other question, what other comment? Yes, ma'am.
Like blood donation, don't you need that for like emergency?
For wars. When was the last time we were in a war?
Well, car accidents?
That's happening, how often? How many car accidents you seeing? They kept up the blood donation of wartime levels for the last few decades. They've still got people. They're doing blood drives all over the place. By the way, did anybody ever check the blood of the vaccinated to see what was happening?
I've seen it.
Other countries shut down blood donations, not the United States. So what happens, the question you have to ask yourself is, where's all that blood going? They're not wasting blood. You know what these people do, right? They're not wasting blood. They don't waste your plasma. They ship it to pharmaceutical companies. They sell it to pharmaceutical companies because your plasma, your blood, makes things that machines can't make.
That's why they pay people to donate their plasma. There's a plasma donation center in town.
Correct.
They pay a lot of money.
Always inner city, always brand new buildings, always with like cow milkers in the middle, and you just sit around and there's 15 chairs and they pull that crap out and they centrifuge it down and they freeze it and then they send it where? Pharmaceutical companies. So why? So they can harvest the proteins out of your blood and put them in drugs. And then where do the drugs go? Into somebody's stomach. You will never hear this. You will never hear that anywhere else. So all the blood donation, do you need the blood donation? Not really. So where's it all going? We're not in a war. There aren't that many car accidents. Hell, we're going to driverless cars.
God help us.
Yeah, we're going to electric cars, for God's sake. So they can shut your car down. There won't be car accidents. It's all a lie. It's all fake. Just wake up to it. The sooner the better. You know, very, very little of it is needed, is what I'm saying. And if there were people that needed it right there, how many donors do they have standing around doing TikTok dances in the hospital? Called nurses? You got that one. Okay. All right. Anything else? Sorry. I get a little sarcastic at this stuff because it's so evil. All right. Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design Natural Health. Hold on. Divine Design Natural Health. And guess what? Good versus fad. In 2 weeks, we will be doing on March 28th. Good versus fad. You want to know what's going on with food? You want to know what's going on with plant-based foods, all the fads, all the gluten-free crap, and all the ketogenic, and all the Paleolithic, and all the paleo, what's the other stuff? Intermittent fasting, all the fatty, batty, crappy stuff that's going on in food. We're going to simplify it, make it very simple. Might even talk about maybe how to read labels. Yeah, maybe, depending on the amount of time we have. But good versus fad. All the Weight Watchers, keto stuff, how to, all the losing weight, all the Atkins, all the Beachbody, all the South Beach, all that crap. 2 weeks. If you want to know the truth, simplest, easiest, most boiled down, 99-cent version, drop the mic, walk off stage, whole kit and caboodle, 1 hour, hour and a half long thing on food and all the crap that you've been taught about grams and carbs and calories, just coming to this class, you will save hundreds of hours on a treadmill at a gym that you hate. That alone, I'll save you the productivity of your life right there from hundreds of hours of you not having to burn off calories. Right, Brittany? Right? Yeah. Huh, who else is in here? Right? Right? Okay. That's in 2 weeks. And then we've got a whole new program coming out, Q2, with a whole bunch of new classes that we're going to announce in 2 weeks. Dr. Brett Spradlin, Divine Design, Natural Health, thank you very much. All right.